Been here since '01. Okay, no one really knows. Okay. 95 or 96, Tom says. So it's been going on 30 years, approximately. This year, our goal is $400,000. Isn't that wonderful that we can set those goals and realistically know that we're going to reach them because of your generosity and God's grace? And the church should say to that, Amen. You said 100% participation. Amen to that. Even if it's just a little. That's right. So again, Levite missions, we're going to highlight those. We have 4 that we will focus on this morning, and we're going to start with the Levy youth group mission trip that they conducted this summer. And to explain all of that is Jacob Delashaw. And it's Jacob doing this because he was an intern this summer. Jesse is on the camping trip. By the way, there's about 100 plus Levites camping this weekend, so they won't be with us. But Jacob is here, thankfully, and he will share with us information about the Levy youth group mission trip, and then after that we'll see a video.
Good morning. I'm Jacob Delashaw. So I was one of the youth interns the past 2 summers with the youth group, and something the youth group always likes to do is have a mission trip every summer. In 23, they went to Honduras, and this past summer, 2024, Jesse likes to do a thing called a local mission trip, where it's basically as if we stay here at the church, and it's kind of as if we went to Dallas and stayed in a church and did stuff in Dallas. And it's a nice refresher because it kind of reminds you that there's mission work even just around where you live. You don't have to travel somewhere far or anything to help people. I mean, that's good too, but you can help anywhere, even close by. So the thing we did this summer was with Central Church of Christ. It's called Kids Week, and basically it's kind of like a VBS type event where we hang out with inner city kids that get brought in for the days, or it's for a whole week, and we just kind of hang out with them, teach them about Jesus, and play with them, and just care for them. And it's really cool to see, especially as the week goes on, as they get to know you more, because you kind of get paired with a buddy. At least we did this past year. It's just kind of cool to see how much of an impact you can make on the kids. You don't know what their story is. You don't know where they've come from. You don't know what their situation's like at home. And so to be able to care for them and love on them in that week was really special. So another thing that I did for the youth group was I was always recording stuff. I just like to document things. And so I always make, for the past 2 summers, I made a big end of the summer video for the teens. And so that's what we're going to show here in a second, is just kind of the short section from Kids Week this past summer. So we can go ahead and play that.
Sound. Thank you. Now we're going to move into one of our members, Vicki Harris. Vicki's sitting back over here, I think. She takes an annual trip to Cameroon, and I'm going to give her a report. Let me see if I can start working this thing. There we go. And this was Vicki's 5th trip to Cameroon. This year, 7 went. This is with her daughter, Sierra's sister. What's her name, Vicki? Savannah. And Junior Zendejas. Some of you may know Junior. He is around here and worships with us on occasion and is with his family, right? And so they went. Those 3 went this year, and they spent their first week in the village. And I'm going to try to pronounce all of these things correctly. Of Wotutu, and they conducted VBS, a medical and vision clinic, and they had an average of 300 children each day attend a VBS that they conducted in the city. More than 396 patients were seen for medical needs, and 529 patients for vision needs. And there are some pictures of their ministry at the Junior up there speaking, and Savannah teaching, and other scenes of what they did in Cameroon. Vicki conducted the medical clinic. She had 2 local nurses with her and also a lab technician. One of the local preachers is also an optometrist, and so he donates his time to conduct the vision clinic. And here you see some scenes from the VBS. And there's the also a VBS scene, and also the optometrist, the brother there, who is working with that person. Evangelism was being done while patients were waiting to be seen. Her group spent lots of time at the church, supported orphanage. I think that was this right there, the church-supported orphanage, mentoring and loving the children. And again, you see some of those pictures. Mabanga was the other village where they spent their second week. There was an average of 237 children that came to the VBS there each day. There were more than 382 patients that were seen for medical needs and 286 patients for vision needs. And there were 9 baptisms during those 2 weeks that they were in Cameroon. And Vicki reports that many lives were touched. Praise God to that. Thank you, Vicki, for your mission and your heart for and love for this mission work. Sure. Vicki, how did you find this place? So she went to a missions program in Dallas and met this guy here, and that's how she got started on that. She says, I told Vicki she could come up and help me with that, but she declined. So now you're still helping them. Okay. Well, thank you, Vicki. Next, we're going to Zambia. And Patricia Rouse. Is Patricia here? No? Don't see her? Okay. Well, Patricia she reports about the Mumina Zambia Mission 2024 Youth and Young Adult Gospel Meeting for the church planting work among the Kaonde and Lunda people in Zambia. And this is sponsored by the Round Rock Church of Christ. She left the USA on June 24th, 2024, and returned on July the 9th, 2024. And so this is to your right with the hat on is Patricia. And this is a part of the group to which they ministered. You see her teaching here with the hat on. Each year, leaders of the churches of Christ among the Kaonde people choose World Bible School courses for their gospel meeting. As a volunteer teacher, Patricia studied and prepared for 6 months to present all lessons to assigned students. Approximately 300 students took part in this year's gospel meeting, which included youth from a Methodist church congregation in Lumwana West that converted to the Lumwana West Church of Christ. Lumwana is a copper mining town found in the northwestern province of Zambia. And she says a total of 33 young people, and you see that on your right, a total of 33 young people were baptized into Christ during this trip. Baptism took place in a small creek used that you see there, but had much lower water levels due to the drought, she said. Here's more pictures of them teaching and interacting with their group and studying, and also some of the food that they had. Patricia reports that a huge class from surrounding regions of the northwest area of Zambia was matched up with her and a sister named Karen Reed from the Paducah Church of Christ in Paducah, Kentucky. And I think she's up there in the top right-hand corner with Patricia preparing some lessons. Here's some more scenes that you see. Patricia and Karen rotated teaching this class with attendance from 22 to 40, not including the babies. They used 3 World Bible School courses entitled Covenant Consideration, Serving in the New Way of the Spirit. Number 2, The Mystery of Music. And number 3, The Guide to New Testament Christianity. So you see also different Patricia, but also some others that are teaching here. She said during morning class, students would get cold and they would want to sit in the sunshine. She said mid-August is the cool and dry season in Zambia, and the best time to visit is also during this time between June and November. The days are hot and the nights are cool. Days are in the upper 70s and the nights are often in the low 40s. And here you see some of the pictures, and these, I think, reflect the other opportunities that they had to glimpse cross-cultural differences and different worldviews, she says. To that end, Patricia says she was reminded that her engagement with the world depends upon her knowing her identity and mission. In other words, knowing her faith and sharing her faith. And so they did some other activity to engage the culture. They toured a local health clinic, and they witnessed a patient who was giving birth. They saw children waving and playing in the grass. They made these skirts that you see the ladies wearing right there. They also met His Royal Highness, which, if you can tell on the picture on your right, the guy standing up, I think, is His Royal Highness King Mumina. And the Conde people shared their food with them. I think that's the picture up to your upper right or left. I'm challenged. Your upper left. Patricia expresses her thanks for the continued prayers and financial support in helping World Bible School reach others by using the many WBS courses and tools. They asked students to continue to use their booklets to teach others what they had been taught during this mission gospel meeting. She also reports that it is likely her last trip due to the Round Rock congregation's shifting mission emphasis. Now, I would like to say a word, and we certainly are grateful for Patricia connecting with the Round Rock Church, which is in Texas, and the Paducah Church of Christ in Kentucky, and going and spending her time and her effort to teach and preach the gospel, or to teach the gospel in Zambia and to share the good news with the people who live there. I want to say a word about World Bible School. We had a World Bible School ministry that Carol and Wallace Randall, mostly Carol maybe, I don't want to diss, no? Wallace too, I'm playing. That Wallace and Carol headed up for quite some time, and they're not as involved in that anymore due to different concerns. But World Bible School is an incredible ministry to reach out into the world. It's simple. You just you get lined up with someone in some part of the world, and you end up corresponding with them, and they have all of the literature that you can share with them, so you're not even really on the hook to be responsible for what am I going to say or teach these people. It's all provided for you. And it really is a mission that has touched lives all over the globe. By now, World Bible School has been around a long, long time. And by now, it could even be folks in the millions who've been touched by the gospel, have been reached. People have been converted through that. Early on in Lithuania, which is what we're going to talk about next, we did World Bible School, and I was over there following up with World Bible School, and we had baptisms early on in the 90s through this effort. So what I'm saying is, if you would like to participate in worldwide mission work, you don't have to get on a plane. You don't have to go to any place in the world. You can stay right here at home in your living room and participate in that through World Bible School. And Wallace, you have anything to add to that? Okay. So what I'm going to, yes, sir, Tom? Come on up. Tom's going to come on up. It's getting serious. Tom's coming up. That's it, Mike.
Well, this probably horrifies my mom, but World Bible School is something that she does all the time. It is like her full-time job. And my mama over here, this is embarrassing her, I can tell you that. But the reason why I wanted to say this is that, my mom lives with us, and she's limited in her physical abilities, but she has a command center in her little apartment up above our garage, and last time I checked, she had something like 35 World Bible Study students, and she does everything on the laptop, on her iPad. So this is something that anybody can do, and it's making a difference. So she's had one person that has been baptized over in Kenya, and she got them connected with a Church of Christ over there for that young man to get baptized. And there's a Church of Christ preacher over there who she has studied with, and they developed a relationship, he and his wife, and when they had their baby daughter, they named her Barbara Jr.
Hey.
So the reason I mention this is that if anybody, this is something that anybody can do from wherever you are to make a difference in the world, to outreach. So I'm a big fan of World Bible School. So thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can see Barbara. Barbara, raise your hand over there so people know. I know you don't want to do that. But raise your hand, and there's Barbara and Wallace and Carol back here. So if you would like to participate and start, you can start. That's right, I knew that. Okay, the World English Institute, which is teaching Bible through the English, right? Through English language. So they're partner ministries, I should say, correct? And so there's two different approaches. So if you would like to be involved in those, then see one of these three folks. You can start with one student. That's all you need, and they'll connect you with they'll make the connections for you so that you can then start stepping through the process and learn how to do it. So if you'd like to do that, then after class or after worship today, see one of them. Very good. All right, now we're going to move into the Baltic Family Camp. And the Levites who went there this year, my family, Terry and Taylor and myself, Andy and Lisa, who, by the way, are in Lithuania as we speak, working with our mission point in Klaipėda. Andy, Lisa, Elise, and Grant Gibson, Doug and Dee Hurst, Jeanette and Elizabeth Thornhill, and Julie Watson. A lot of these people are on the camping trip this weekend. But that was our team this year. This is our camp picture. We are in a campground facility that is on Lake Babruce, which means beaver, Beaver Lake. And what this group of people represents is folks from there's 126 people. What they represent are people from 11 or 12 countries. other than the United States in Europe. And what they also represent is missionaries and missionary families from the States who are there working in Europe, and also ministry families from, which means native Europeans who are working in their culture and in their country to preach and teach the gospel. When I was saying this represents missionary families, and I would say that there at the camp, they would come up and correct me and say, we live here. So we wouldn't really typically be considered missionaries, but they're ministry families. And then in there also are some Christian families who worship in some of the congregations there. So the focus of the Baltic Family Camp when we started it in 2012, since Terry and I had worked so long and we had lived in Vilnius, Lithuania, and I'd been working in that part of the world since 1996 was the first time I went. We started a youth camp in 1998 on the same lake, but across it in another campground. Then one of the dreams at camp, by the way, the youth camp still goes. It's still there at this same facility. It's still going on every year. But one of the dreams that we had was to have a family camp. And in 2012, we started it thanks to Levy and to the Harvest Funds and to the generosity here and the vision of the missions committee who supported us to do that. And so this has been going on for 12. This was we skipped a couple because of COVID, but we started in 2012. And so this is 126 people who are from different countries in Europe. And this is just some of the scenes of our campground. You see Doug and Dee and Taylor there with one of the girls. The family camp operates like this. We have guest teachers that we invite, and I'll show you some of them in a moment. We have visiting teachers or guest teachers that we invite that are typically professors at universities. Because what we want to do for our missionaries and our ministry leaders and families there is to present to them a deeper dive into text, not just a Bible class, but something that goes a little bit deeper. And typically the professors will deliver that, and they do quite well in teaching that. And also, they teach the adults during the day. We have a split day where the adults will be taught at one part of the camp, while the teens and the youth will be taught and the other part of the camp, and the kids. You see a kids class here to your left that's going on. The lady bending over is Loria Pryor. She is Beth Ann Travis's mother. I failed to mention that also joining our team every year is David and Loria Pryor. And Loria is Beth Ann Travis's mom. Beth Ann is a Levite. David is her stepdad. David and I have gone way back at Sardis Lake Christian Camp, all the way back to the late 70s. And he was part of the team that first started the camp. I'll show you a picture of him in a moment. But that's her teaching the little kids class. Dee teaches another class. We have 2 classes for ages. And Dee will teach the other, and Loria will teach this class. Doug teaches our teen class. And Doug has got a youth group over there. And they love Doug. All of these guys do a fantastic job. And Doug has made a terrific connection with that youth group there. I'll show you a picture of the group a little bit later. So they spend their day in their classes and their activities, arts and crafts, while the adults are in class. And then we have just rest period. We have an extended rest period because, after all, this is what we're bringing in the missionaries to give them a Sabbath, to offer them a time to rest and relax. So in the afternoon, we have an extended rest period time where free time. They can do whatever you want to do. You can go swimming, just hang out, chill out, get together, do whatever. And then at night, we get back together. We have worship. We usually have a camp-wide family activity that everybody's encouraged to participate in. And then we have evening devotionals. On Friday, we have the bonfire that you see there. That's a family. The guy with the beard is from Latvia, and the children some of those are his, but some of those aren't. And then we have we roast. We have a weenie. No, that's not. We have marshmallows. Marshmallow roast on Friday at the end of camp, and that's what they're doing. So you get a little view there of what's happening. And here are more scenes throughout the day. You see Julie up there with some kids in the sandbox. You see Jeanette is our arts and crafts guru, and Elizabeth and others help her. And they do, and Julie is a part of that, Taylor's a part of that. And they help the kids with their arts and crafts. But this year, Jeanette had a great idea about doing something for the adult women with some paintings. And that's what they're doing here. This is where they're sitting, is front of the dining hall, the outdoor section of the dining hall. And so that's what they're doing there. Then you see two little girls there who are just wading around in the water. Then you see up on your right is Lisa. Lisa and Andy's role at the camp is to direct the kids' camp, the kids' section. They take care of the lining up the games and the activities and coordinate, all of that with the teachers to make sure that everything's in line. They do a great job with that. And there you see Lisa leading them in a game. And Julie standing there. Again, we see those kids who are participating. And then down at the bottom left is purple soup. It's cold borscht. It's made out of beets, and they put sour cream in it, and so it comes out looking like Pepto-Bismol. And most of the times the American look at it, that's a national dish. They love it. It's served cold. And most of the times the Americans get over there and look at that and go, I don't think I'm eating that. But if you like beets, it's really, really good. And we also sing a song at camp called Stirring the Purple Soup. So we all get a kick out of that. It's sort of pinkish purple. So it just gives you scenes where we are and what we're doing. There's Doug hugging up on a couple of kids. The young man that he's hugging is from England. Adamus. Adamus. I always want to say Adamkus. Adamkus was the president over there for a long time. He was an American, actually, who moved away from Lithuania and then moved back after the Iron Curtain fell. But Adamus and this is his parents. You see with Taylor on your left in a boat. And that's his youngest brother back there. They all are from England. Now, Vika, both his parents are from Lithuania, but they immigrated to England. That's part of what Lithuania experienced after they joined the EU. I think 1/3 of the country's population left. And they moved to different parts of Europe. And that has also affected the church, both of the churches that are there, because, and this is more about young people, the young people that we connected with, that became Christians through the camp ministry, and then plugged into the church, they left. And they're scattered all over the place. And like Vika, some of them come back and bring their families. So she and her husband, Nereus, will return from England to come to the camp every summer. Her sister is the wife of the evangelist in Vilnius. And her son, Adamus, that Doug is hugging, was baptized last year at camp. And then you just see some scenes, Elizabeth up there in a classroom. And Terry and I are with Everett and Eileen Hufford. And Everett and Eileen both were our guest teachers this year. Eileen teaching the women and Everett teaching the men. Everett was a longtime dean at Harding Graduate School, as it was known in Memphis, Tennessee. Of course, that's closed now. They moved that to Harding. But Everett was there for many, many years, and he still lives in Memphis, and he is an outstanding teacher. Everett was here right before COVID, if you remember, in January of 2019, and speaking to us and meeting with our elders and doing some consulting work. But they returned this year for the second time to teach our men and our women, and they just simply did an outstanding job, as did all of our teachers, including Doug and Dee and also Loria. And we had one more, and I didn't get a picture of him somehow, except in the general picture. He is from Olomouc, Czech Republic. And his name is, man, I'm seeing his face. He's actually from Little Rock. And he and his wife are in Olomouc, and they have Yeah, Mitch Anderson. I knew it was Anderson. Mitch Anderson and his wife Monica. He's originally from PV. And they live in Olomouc, Czech Republic, and they have a missionary retreat. And it's, Sherry, our Sherry Pogue has one, right, in France. She has a big house. Mitch and Monica have an apartment that a missionary or their family can come and spend time, spend a week, no charge. And Mitch, he came over and taught. Also during the week, he taught the men's class as Eileen taught the women, Everett taught the rest of it. And they have really a fantastic ministry there. We encourage all these guys that are at camp to go take advantage of that or to reach out to Sherry and take advantage of that. One thing that makes these types of ministry so significant, including camp ministry, is that most of those who serve in churches in Europe, whether they are Americans serving there or whether they are natives in their country, most of them are in isolated, very small congregations. The gospel or message it finds challenges in Europe. You go to Zambia or Cameroon or South America or other parts of Africa and India, the receptivity to the gospel there is much greater than it is in Europe. Europe has long been secularized. And this frustrates a lot of American churches because they see missionaries coming back from other places reporting, dozens, if not hundreds of baptisms. And then folks come from Europe and go, we had 3 or 4. But the resistance to the gospel there is far greater. The receptivity is not very well. And so as a result, the missionaries and the ministry families are usually in small, isolated congregations where they have to travel hours to find another congregation of the Church of Christ, including in Lithuania. There's only one in Latvia, which is Riga. That's it. There's 3 in Lithuania. There's 2 in Estonia. These are the Baltic countries. And then you go out through the rest of Europe, and it's the same way. And so they love coming to camp. This is a highlight of their year. They put this on their calendars because it brings them into contact with other Christians from the States, teachers like Everett, Eileen, and Doug, and Mitch. And it gives them that experience that we take for granted sometimes. We have it every week. We come in here and join 500-600 people every Sunday, and it's kind of like, yeah, great. They don't have that experience. Most of them, the largest time they're together with other Christians is Baltic Family Camp, unless they go to one or two other, there's some other camps around, and there's also some retreats like the Euro-American retreat that's coming up Thanksgiving week in Germany. And so they flock to these things because they don't have what we have, and sometimes we take for granted this kind of fellowship and encouragement. And so all of this is why Sherry's mission is so important. It's why Mitch and Monica's mission is so important, because it gives them a Sabbath. It gives them a time away to recharge and refresh and to rest. And the Baltic Family Camp, that's our same goal. We do it in a week, and we do it together. All right, next slide. To your left is Joel Petty. Joel has been here numerous times. The mission committee knows Joel quite well. Joel was in St. Petersburg, Russia for like 28 years. He married a Russian. He has 3 children. Joel is a mainstay of our camp. But Joel's no longer in St. Petersburg, Russia, because when the war with Ukraine broke out, he had to leave. The Russian government said, you're an American, you got to get out. And he left with his children who have dual citizenship, but they left Yana, his wife, back in St. Petersburg because she's Russian. And it was quite an ordeal for her to get out of the country because no one was letting Russians out into their country. And she had to go through Turkey, I believe, to even get out, and it was an ordeal. Joel, I think back then, was just back and forth. It was crazy what they had to go through. But they're now living in Austin, Texas. The sponsoring church of Joel, that's where it is, and he's moved there. Now Joel works with James Norred's plan of redemption. Do you know James has been here? And he has a worldwide ministry through his videos, and Joel is working with him. And Joel is currently teaching these lessons via video into the Baltics, including Lithuania. And Joel, as a part of what he does, travels about 4 times a year to the Baltics. I've told Joel he was the Apostle Paul of the Baltics. Somebody at camp said, no, he's more like the Barnabas. And so he's very involved with that part of the world now. And he preached for us one night. The lady in the middle is Loria Pryor, but next to her is a lady named Lisa. And I won't try to pronounce her last name. Let me tell you Lisa's story. I know I got to hurry. Lisa grew up in Minsk, Belarus. Belarus borders Lithuania. Belarus is caught up in the war too. They're basically an ally of Russia. And there is great concern that if this war in Ukraine were to expand into Europe, that it would go through Belarus. And it would also then go through Lithuania and Poland, that down by the border of all 3 of those countries. And so they're very alarmed about that over there. NATO's got troops over there. They beefed up the border over there. And so all of that is the geopolitical reality in which the camp has to navigate. And Lisa and her husband, who is a anesthesiologist doctor, were basically fled Belarus. They got out by the hair of their chinny chin chin. Politically, they were perceived as enemies. And he was imprisoned for a period of time, got out, and then his colleagues at the hospital told him, they're coming for you again, and this time you're not getting out. And so he had to flee immediately. Lisa, with her children, left after him, barely getting over in the border in Poland, as things were just getting crazy over there with this war. And from Poland, they moved on now to Germany, where he is practicing as an anesthesiologist. And the thing about Lisa is, I forgot to say, she grew up coming to the youth camp in Lithuania. Back in the early 2000s, when things were better, she would come over the border from Minsk with about 20 or 30 kids, and they would come to the youth camp. They didn't have a camp in Belarus. Some of you know the name of Tommy Gaither. Tommy was a youth minister here way back in the day. Tommy was working at the Walnut Congregation in Texarkana. They were sponsoring the work in Minsk. Tommy called me up one day and said, hey, can our kids come over to your camp? And that's how that started. And so they would come over for like 4 or 5 years. They came over. Then they started their own camp. It doesn't exist now. But they started their own camp. But Lisa, L-I-Z-A, was one of the kids that came over from that camp. Now she's driving 22 hours from Germany to come to Lithuania to attend the Baltic family camp with her own kids and her husband. And below here, I've got to hurry, is Alexander and Irene, and they're from Mariupol, Ukraine. Anybody know about Mariupol, Ukraine? Have you heard of that? Mariupol was one of the most severely savage towns from the war. Alexander was the preacher for the Mariupol Church of Christ. I don't know if you remember last year in the Christian Chronicle, they ran a big feature on them. They were in their church building sheltering while the explosions and the war was erupting all around. And they stayed there for over 30 days, and they were just basically surviving. Alexander tells that he had to go out and collect water out of the bomb craters because they ran out of water. And he said their standard operating procedure was to keep 2 walls between them and the street at all time because they thought 2 walls might protect them in case a shell exploded. And so they did that for over 30 days, praying for the Lord to deliver them, and he did. And now they are in Tallinn, Estonia. They have fled Ukraine, and they live in Tallinn, Estonia. And now Alexander, along with the longtime preacher in Tallinn, Nikolai, he is now co-preaching there because it's a Russian-speaking congregation in Estonia. Estonia is much closer to Russia than Lithuania. Lithuania doesn't border Russia. And so they have a much more highly percentage of Russian speakers in their country, and so they speak for the They preach at the Russian-speaking church. On here is Everett teaching. Here's the ladies up there showing their paintings that Jeanette helped them do. That was a big hit, man. They loved that. And then some of the kids for the, you see from the class. And over here's the youth group that Doug had. This is the Friday night, the last night at the bonfire, and I took this picture, or somebody did. I don't think I did. But not long after this, all these guys went over there and just monkey piled Doug. Doug was sitting on a blanket next to Dee, and they came over and just started jumping up and down on him, which was quite funny. And there you see Mark and Karen Abercrombie. They're Levites. They are in Germany as missionaries with Julie. And these folks, me, this is David Pryor, that's Shavila and Vika. These are the last four who were still in there from the very first youth camp in 1998. And there's the love lines, and here are our missionaries. Elia with you see the cap he's got on, hotty toddy old miss. That's what that is. You saw this shirt, didn't you? Anyway, I just had to say that. But anyway, Dave, these are our missionaries, Elia Massoff and Kostudis. We support fully, we don't fully support it. We oversee and sponsor the church in Klaipėda, Lithuania. We have congregations and individuals who partner with us to sponsor them. And they're the two missionaries that live. Klaipėda is a port city about 3 hours away from Vilnius, which is the capital. There's the Levite team. Our theme, unsurprisingly, was not of this world. So that's all the Levites who went. So that's our mission trip. Thank you, and thank you for supporting us. By the way, the Lithuania flag is, where is it? There's Zambia, by the way. Lithuania, right there is yellow, green, and red. Right there. So thank you very much. Thank you for your support and for your attention this morning.